Hey guys. Okay, so um, just to recap, AVR bypassed a video, or sorry, bypassed settings in the AVR. Told you guys in the last video, I showed you a video before how to do that. You don't have to do that, but I do it anyway to be safe. So you could skip that video. Again, OCD. And then moving on to the cables, which I discussed in the last video, or the cable. And then, getting to your screen here where you set all your sliders to 0, having your master output low to start. We're going to move over to actually, setting up the mic positions. Now, I do have a tripod. I'll do a quick, video, I guess, in a video of how, if you want to use a tripod or a boom mic. We'll start with the boom mic, obviously, because I have it all set up. So you guys see I have a back wall, okay, which, could create an issue with room correction, especially my main listening position being so close to the back wall. Dirac Art does a very good job with any, bad room, or however, the verbiage you want to say, not a good setup. And I'm living proof because obviously I have a, back wall with no room treatments. Now, some of you guys have room treatments, you have an open back space, that's, great. I just, the way my setup is, I don't have the best setup. So Dirac Art is a very powerful room correction, and, nulls and peaks that I would have in other room corrections, it kind of, really, really corrects, which we'll get into. But, again, I guess starting off with your main listening position, because mine's so close. Now, with other room corrections, I've actually moved my recliner up, or I've moved the boom mic, up and started closer or further away from the wall. With doing so many art calibrations, and when I started art from the first day it came out, I started doing it that way. And then there's a guy in our group, Michael, who has diagrams. I'm sure you've seen him. He was he actually put an actual diagram out with the measurements. I've been using his method for a while now, and it really works. And he doesn't have a good room as well, and that's why he set up that diagram for people that don't. But with having the back wall, okay, so close to your main listening position, Art does a very good job, guys. So you got to trust in the program, trust in the room correction. I know, throwing a cover or a blanket over the top. I've done that. Okay. I'm sure you'll see once we're going through my presets that I have saved in my Dirac slots. I probably have over 500. You'll see reclined, not reclined, blanket over, how I label my Dirac slots. Honestly, I've watched Matthew Poe's video, over the last few years, and he, states with the reflections, if you have, I don't have a coffee table, kind of leave everything the way it is. With art, you can. I'm living proof. Okay, I'm sure maybe people at Dirac might say, throw blankets over, or, move your coffee table, or, room treatments, or whatever it is. I am living proof, guys, that I have done it all. I've reclined my chair. I've moved the chair. I've blankets over the chair. I mean, I literally bought a blanket. Okay. I mean, now it's just, for show. But I mean, I put a pillow there, for my, body, replacing my body. You don't have to do it with art. Okay. Yes. I mean, any room correction, doesn't matter what it is, there's going to be reflections. This is a, pleather, leather, whatever backing. So when you are getting your sound waves, there is a reflection. If you feel you want to throw a blanket over, great. Okay. For this video, I'm going to do without the blanket, and without reclining, because the measurements are what are more important to me, meaning I really go into measuring around my MLP and then how I measure along my sectional. And again, guys, this is my setup. You could follow this if you have different seats, or a 2-seater or a 1-seater. The way I'm going to do my mic positions is for 1 seat and for, let's say 3 seats, because I have 2 other people in my family. So if my son's here, my wife's here, you would consider this a 3-seater for a Dirac calibration. But again, if tightly focused, expanded, wide, we'll go over all that. I've been messing around with some measurements lately because the last video with Joss and Joe and Tell, Josh, Dirac engineer, did state up to 3 feet between mic positions. I tried that last night. I went to 2 feet. Sounds a lot better, in my opinion. But again, you know, I don't want to say go crazy over it. Again, I'm OCD with an actual measuring tape. You want to go by eye, great. This is how I do it. So you again follow and kind of do it your way. But I don't think you really need to go crazy with the reclining and the cover because it's art. Now, if you're doing multi-EQX or even Dirac live room correction, maybe bass control, yes, throw a blank if you're close to the back wall, recline. Now if you do listen or you do watch or you do game reclined, then recline. I have an actual preset set for reclined. My recliner reclined. Because I do sometimes recline when I'm listening. Okay, but again, it's not like you don't have to go crazy. I was honestly, guys, doing it's crazy and it's a joke throughout our community and our Facebook group and YouTube that I'm the guy that does over 200 plus calibrations and calculations. I've done it all. I've reclined halfway. I've reclined fully. I told you guys, I've done so many different ways of doing it. And honestly, the audible difference was minor. It really was. Other room corrections, I would suggest maybe doing that. With art, it's powerful enough where you don't have to go that crazy. So let's get back to how I set up. So what I do is, okay, and this was I used to start with the boom mic, okay, right almost against the recliner, okay, and then when Michael showed me the diagram a few years ago that he does, I started 8 inches from the center. So just so you know, my measuring of my actual center speaker is, I did a laser measure tape. It's directly in between the back pillow. That lining or stitching you see there is exactly where my TV and the center of the my DefTech DM30 center channel is exactly to the center of that. Now, if your seats are off a little bit, okay, or whatever the case is, that's fine, okay? But basically where your head is, the tip of your nose is where you want the tip of the mic to be. And the most important, and I can't stress this enough, the most important measurement is the first one, okay? That's the one that gets your delays, your timing, your distances, and then everything else is just a spatial average. You'll hear that a lot with other videos and with Dirac engineers. The most important one is the first position, okay? So again, I measure. So I do 8 inches. Okay, I'm not going to do the measuring now because I'm holding my iPhone in my hand, but I measure 8 inches, okay, which I've sat in the seat and literally measured my head. I had my wife measure my head to where the tip of my nose is, and it was about 7 to 8 inches. So I settled on 8 inches, okay? And on the height, okay, so I have a boom mic, okay? The height of where I'm about 6 foot tall, okay? The height of the tip of the mic to my nose is about 41 inches. So I'm just gonna move this out. Okay, if you guys wanna go crazy, like, with the measuring stage, okay, you just take your measuring tape and measure, from the bottom to the top to the tip. And the reason why I say that is because my measurements, I vary the height. I do, let's just say we do 14 to 17 measurements. Out of those 14 to 17, I vary 3 to 4 times the height. If you're following Michael's diagram that you've seen on Facebook, he does 2 height positions in your ears or around your head, and then 1 below your where you're starting it. So I move it 3 to 4 times. Okay, so I measure the actual measuring from the floor up, which is to the tip of my nose, which is about 41 inches, and then 8 inches from the center of where my head sits, which is the center here. Okay, so 8 inches from here to here will be the tip, and about 41 to 42 inches up. Okay, and again, it's easier to have a boom mic to do this. Again, I have a tripod. I could show you guys. It's very similar, yeah. So that's how I start my main listening position. The tip of my nose. Again, I've tried starting back here, and just a quick recap on the back wall. You want to be about 2 feet regardless, okay? So if you do recline, you still want to be about 2 feet, 20 inches to 24 inches so from the back wall. Even though Art does a great job with correcting, you really don't want to start too far back. And speaking to other people in the group and other, calibrators, they say that Art especially is very powerful when the mic is actually in the front, not in the back. So even if you have rows, okay, or not want to say rows, but let's just say you have an open space or a living room in the back of you, okay, going crazy doing measurements in the back, especially where your head's not going to be, there's no point. A few measurements, maybe 2, 3, if you do have an open space, maybe about, 8 to 10 inches. If you have, let's just say this was open, you want to do 8 to 10 inches high and, up here, let's say, and then back. Okay, that's fine. But don't go crazy. Don't go 20 inches behind your main listening position. Again, it's where your head really is and where the other people's heads are. Obviously Art does a spatial imaging, so, it's a little bit better of room correcting. But again, the most important position, especially if you do have a back wall, okay, would be about 2 feet from the back wall and 8 inches where your tip of your nose is. That's basically the best way I could put it. That's where you're going to start your main listening position, first measurement with Dirac Art Live, a room correction, and bass control. Okay, so I wanted to focus one video on the main listening position because this is a question we get a lot in the group. Okay, and again, I have a back wall. Hopefully you guys, that have back walls will follow this and see that, I'm living proof that even though you have a back wall with Art, it does a fantastic job with correcting the frequency response and the corrected spread, which we'll get into. So I'm going to go into other measurements, but I just wanted to focus on the first main listening position. See you guys in the next video.